I'm just about to open a delivery of new greetings cards, and I love this because it's really exciting to see how everything's turned out, especially if it's a new design. So in this film I thought I'd show you how I turn my paintings into greetings cards so that you can do the same. Right, let's have a look. Don't know if you can see that. We have a purple rhino, I'll tell you about that. This is a new departure for me. I took the same image and changed the background colour because the actual painting, I'll show you later, has got a gold background, which is a nightmare to photograph. Here are my original rhinos. They're huge. Oh, that's cool, another of my Australian paintings. That's a little otter I painted a while back. I like how that flower one's come out. And there's my kangaroos. Yeah, pleased with those. So the question is, how do you turn a painting like this into a greetings card like that? And maybe actually the first question is, why bother? And I can answer that very simply. Piece of paper, I've looked it up. In 2020, these were the figures I could find, we spent in the world $23 billion on greetings cards. I mean, that's just a scary amount. In the UK alone in 2021, we sent 811 million cards. I mean, it's a huge amount, and that, let's have a look, £1.4 billion. Maybe your art deserves to have a little bit of that money. The first thing you've got to do is get a decent photograph of your artwork, and ideally I would say do it outside. An overcast but bright day is perfect. A totally sunny day is going to give you some issues. It may bleach out your artwork, and obviously if it's raining you don't want to be doing it. So today is actually a bit bright, but there you go. Just for demonstration, we'll have a go. In terms of photography, your smartphone is going to be fine. Looking for an image that will end up 1 or 2 megabytes only, because your card's going to be relatively small. It's not like you're doing clay print and want to do it life size and so forth. Though it's always a good idea to have a high resolution image of your artwork, because if you sell it, give it away, whatever, then you have always got the option in the future of doing something else with it. It's worth trying a few different locations because the quality of the light will be different depending where you are. You might find a good spot inside your house if it's a well-lit house. You might find that certain rooms give a warmer sort of light and that enhances your artwork. Early morning light is often quite blue and cold, so I would avoid that. Midday, overcast day is really going to be ideal. I find with smaller pieces it's definitely worth taking them while they're flat on the floor, because it's easier to square things up. Just don't get your feet in them, but you can crop those out. Larger pieces are trickier to photograph. It's probably best to put them vertically on an easel, take them from a further away, zoom in. That just stops distortion and make sure that you get the whole thing in focus. It's very easy to be too close to get the center of a big piece in focus and the outside's not. If you're zooming in, then put your camera or your phone on a tripod so you don't get all that shaky blur. My favorite spots looking around if I'm doing it outside are actually here on the patio. I find there's quite a lot of bounced around light, so it gets quite even. Or I sometimes do it on the grass over here, but at the moment I've got all sorts of shadows from a tree. Let me show you. This is where I'd probably photograph this piece. It's just on our patio, but I need to be careful that there aren't reflections from windows giving odd lighting. I could probably get away with photographing it here on the grass, but I need to be careful because there are quite a few shadows. You can see those there from next door, and there are tree shadows and so forth.
and it's very easy not to actually see what you're taking a photograph of.
Having taken the photo, you've got a couple of options to adjust it and enhance it. You can use your phone's own software, or if it's on an iPad that's got good software built into it, you can crop the image down to cut off any edges that are caught in the photo. You can adjust it if it's not quite straight, so just straighten it up. You may want to adjust the hue and saturation and the brightness of your image as well. And a lot of phones have really good filters and automatic adjustments that will take everything into account. So it really is a couple of clicks to get it straight. An alternative is to use paint.net, which is like a free version of Photoshop, I guess. So you can rotate your image if you took it in one particular angle, get it straight. You can then adjust the brightness, the contrast, and the saturation. Now, if you want to, you can actually change the colour totally. And here I am changing my kangaroo. Pink one, anyone? Fancy a purple one, maybe? Some of these colours are actually really pretty funky, and I think I might do this in the future. So you can do that, and it's your image, so do what you like with it. This is what I did to get those rhinos with the different colour backgrounds. I just played around till I had an image that I rather liked. Of course, you want to make sure that it's a perfect square, so you can use this to crop it down. And once that image is the very best that you can get it, it's perfectly square, it's well lit, it's the colour you want, and it's got colours that pop. You just need to save it as a JPEG, and then you are ready to either use it in your own artwork or to email it off to your printer if they do the artwork for you. So once you've got the photo sorted out, you've got to make the big decision about whether you're going to print them yourself or use an external printer. And unless you're going to do a lot of very small run bespoke cards, I have to say I think the option of going for an external printer is far better. Let me explain why. You might think, well, I've got a printer at home, I could just print cards as I need them, and that'll be loads cheaper and loads easier. Well, to get them looking professional, maybe your home printer isn't actually going to be good enough. And though printing what an A4 sheet probably costs, I don't know, 10, 15p in ink, there's a lot more to think about in terms of costs than that. So you've got to think about the quality of your printer. You need to purchase your stock, which is probably 300 GSM, or that's about £140. You've got to make sure that your printer has a rear feed so that you can actually use a thick card with it. Not all printers can. You'll need a guillotine because nothing says homemade card more than wonky edges if you use scissors to cut it out. You'll probably need a scoring tool and a scoring guide because, again, nothing says homemade card more than a badly folded card or when it's cracked along the fold, things like that. So if you're looking to make cards to actually sell them, think about your time. You've got to buy envelopes. If you're selling them, you probably need to wrap them in cellophane. All those costs add up. And I think unless I say you're going to do just one or two here and you're not actually selling them, or you want to change the designs over and over again and make them personalised, then you're better off looking for a printer. So what are you looking for in an online printer? Because there are gazillions out there. I've certainly used Bizet for little flyers and things, which was very good. I've used Vistaprint, which is one of the biggies. But I personally use a company called the Dandy Art House, and I have for years. So this is not sponsored by them. I use them because I think they're brilliant. And what I've looked for is that they do short print runs. They provide proofs free of charge. They are very responsive.
their turnaround time is very quick. Now, when I've used other online printers, they've charged for proofing, they've only accepted ready to print artwork, so you have to produce a PDF, a high quality one that can go to them. It's not tricky, I'll show you how using Canva, but it's an extra step in the way. I also pack all my cards, because if you've ordered, I don't know, 500 cards and they come separate from 500 envelopes, which are separate from 500 cellophane bags, that is a big hassle to sit, fold and stuff those. I used to in the old days, and it's a really depressing job. So look at all those things and find a company that will make your life easier. Just thought I'd share something that I think is really good. So Dandy Art House is set up to work with schools, and the kids do a drawing, it gets printed onto cards, and then of course the parents get stitched up to buy lots of cards, and it's fundraising for the school. But they do work with artists too. So they are very good at not making you do anything too technical, because they understand artists on the whole aren't very technical. We'll go through their price list in a moment so that you can see what to look for there. But just note that they will create a sample card for you free of charge. So they will take one of your pictures, produce a totally free card, send it to you, and you can see whether you like the quality or not. That only counts if you're in the UK, I'm afraid, but I think that's a lovely scheme. Let me take you through a typical price list so that you can see some of the pitfalls too. Right, let's clear the decks and look at the price list to really talk you through some of the things to look out for. They give you the colours of envelopes available. That's something else to look out for. A lot of people only provide one colour envelope. Often it's just white or maybe like a craft brown. Coloured ones are at extra price, so do look at that as well when you're choosing a printer. What you need to look for is what weight is the cardstock. You don't want them to be flimsy. If you're going for really small cards, you can get away with a lighter, therefore cheaper cardstock, but you want this to be, quality. What is included? That's what you've got to look for. So they include design service, VAT in the UK, so taxes. If you're in the US, look out for your taxes. An envelope of your colour. Then what is their minimum order? So the minimum order, 36 cards in this case. And you can mix various designs with a minimum of 6 cards per design. So minimum order 36, but you could have 6 designs for that. Watch out if you suddenly think, oh, I'd like to say happy birthday inside or have a greeting. I would really recommend leaving them blank, because double-sided printing will give, in this case, 30% extra, and that is really not unusual. Then if you're selling them, you're going to need to have them in cellophane or in some sort of packaging to keep them clean. Look how expensive those are going to be. A single cellophane, in this case, is 6p. You can get them put in multiple packs. I've not done that. One nice offering here is that they give biodegradable cellos. You can have the option of a naked card, so it's a peel-off sticker that you can have your text put on, probably your website, your name, maybe a logo, and that sticks it all together. Big downside of that is that they can get very mucky if you're going to craft fairs, packing them up, taking them here, there and everywhere. Naked cards will get battered and dog-eared. They hand fold all your cards with your chosen envelope and package it, and that's included in the price, and that's a really important thing to look out for, because that can add a lot of money, or you have to do it. And frankly, having packed hundreds of cards in my time, it's a right pain. You can, if you want, have different sorts of stock. That's the actual card. So look at those. And then these are the different sizes this particular printer does. I love the square cards, so they are basically 6 inches square, which is 155 millimeters. You might want tiny little ACO ones, you might want A6, you decide what's best for you. And then the interesting thing to look at is how the prices come down. The more you print, the cheaper it is. So for that 36 minimum order, if you go for the square cards like I do, 76p each. If I ordered more than 1,000, it comes down to 39p each. Do you want to spend, what's 1,000 times 39p? Do you really want to spend £390 on cards in one shot? Probably not. Where are you going to store them, etc., etc.? I tend to go for about 250 cards at a time. That's what I got this morning, and so they come in at 59p each. But remember, that's not your final price. You've got to think of your 59p and your cellophane, which in this case is 6p, and you've got to divide whatever your postage is between the number of cards that you actually ordered. And I think I ordered 250 and the postage was £6.99. My final cost for my cards actually comes out at 69p per card. Worth also thinking about what you're going to charge. Because remember, you've had all the time, you did the original painting, you've done the artwork, you've gone through all this. So what are you going to charge? Well, gosh, cards in shops now are really expensive, aren't they? In the UK, I think you're easily talking £3 for a card. Should you actually charge more because yours are beautiful artwork, or do you want to charge a little less? I charge £2.50 usually for my cards, and if people buy 5, then I'll do 5 for a tenner. If you are doing wholesale, you also need to think what pricing you'll do. So wholesale is a shop says, yeah, I love your card, I want to buy 100, and you think, whee! But they don't want to buy 100 at £2.50 because that's what they're selling it for. So usually I would say for retail, they expect to buy it at least half what they're going to sell it for. So make that easy. If they're selling it for £3, they expect to buy it for £1.50. You've bought it for 69 or 70p, and therefore you are making 80p on each card if you sell it wholesale. Whereas if you are selling it retail, you're doing the actual work of selling it, you're making what, £1.80? Have I got that right? You can weigh up whether you want to go the wholesale route and maybe do some selling yourself, but you'll need to make sure the prices are the same. If you're selling in local shops for £3, you can't then sell in a local craft fair for £1.50. It's not fair, and if your retailer finds out, they will be really upset. You have taken your photo, you've decided whether you're going to print it yourself or outsource it, you've found a printer you're happy with. Now you need to send them either the JPEG, so the actual photo of your artwork, or if they require it, you've got to send a file in their format. So check everything carefully. If you need to send artwork, you can use Canva to do the layout, and it will give you a print ready PDF which has all the cutting and the bleed lines. If you hear people talk about bleed, it's just a little edge, usually about 3mm round your artwork, that will be lost in the printing process and will be trimmed off. If you haven't come across canva.com, it is going to change your life. It's a free online design tool and it's super. So here I've set up a template to the size of that 6x6 card I like. I've imported my kangaroo and it's all quite intuitive. You can just drag things, stretch them out. Don't forget that on your card the front will be to the right as you look at it, So I'm just placing my image there, and then I think, what do I want to do on the back of the card? Maybe I want a duplicate image, and I can do that. So I'm just putting a smaller version of the image and placing it where I want it in the center of the back of the card. And if you want to add text, it's very easy to do again in Canva. You can put in whatever you want, whatever size. You've got multiple fonts so that you can do that. You could put in your logo if you have a logo as an artist, whatever. I certainly would recommend that you put in your website or some sort of contact details, whether it's your Facebook page or Etsy shop or whatever, because greetings cards are like people paying for your business card. If you've got contact details, people can follow up. And I've actually sold paintings to people who've been sent my cards for their birthdays, which is fantastic. So Canva is great. Once you're ready, you need to save your image as a PDF print, and it automatically puts the crop marks and bleed lines in for you so that you don't have to worry about that. So you have a PDF that's ready to go to the printers. Those little black lines, the printers will understand totally. Though I recommended not having a message inside, if you do want to, it's very easy to add text. So duplicate the page so it's identical in size. Take your images off, just delete them. Again, it's very intuitive. And you've got the blank inside of your card. And now you could either just add some text, write your own verse, write your own message, choose a font that you particularly like, or Canva gives you different options of some pretty fancy fonts. Some you have to pay for. There is a paid version, but even the free one has some pretty good stuff. So I'm just looking through what there is, and that thank you there looks like that would look good inside a card. So you click on it and then you can edit it. If you don't want it to be a thank you card, you want it to be a happy birthday card, you can just edit that text, make it as big or as small as you fancy. You can change all the colours, you can change angles. There's so much you can do, probably an awful lot more than I actually know. Play around with things until you're happy with how they look, because this is your artwork and it needs to be as near perfection as possible. The printer will not change it for you if they've asked for print ready artwork. So that is entirely up to you. And again, when you're happy with the final artwork, remember to save it as the print ready PDF, and it will give you those little bleed lines and the markings for the printer. All that's now gone, and they should return a proof to you, and it is so important to look at your proof. Sounds daft. Have they spelt your name correctly on the back if you put that on there? Is the colour what you're expecting to see? This is the proof of my kangaroo, and I spotted that it said it was from an original watercolour. Well, this isn't watercolour, so I asked for it to be changed, and that was done for this set of cards. If that's all good, give the printer the go ahead and it's over to them. Once your package arrives, obviously check you've got the right number of cards. I have on occasions not, so it's always worth checking. Check that you're happy with the quality of the print. Do query anything if you're not, but it may well be your issue if you haven't checked the proof properly. Now you've got all these beautiful cards, so what are you going to do with them? Well, you're going to use them yourself, no doubt, because again, that's getting your artwork in front of people. But you could sell them on Etsy, you could sell them not on the high street. You could approach local shops to see whether they would stock them. Local garden centres often stock cards, and I have my cards in a few garden centres. You could approach local museums, places of interest, sort of visitor type places, saying that you're a local artist, especially if your art is of local scenes. They will be interested. You can go to craft events, you can go on art trails, and I always make sure I have loads of cards on art trails, because even if you don't sell an original painting, in a weekend you can easily sell maybe £200 worth of greetings cards, and it stops you feeling very depressed. So I hope that's given you a few ideas about why you should be making greetings cards, how you can go about it, and where you can sell them once you've got them. Honestly, I wish I'd done it years and years before I started. It's really simple as long as you've got the right partner printer to really help you through the process.